folks.
I'm Brian Hines.
We're nice here on this side of the microphone and this side of the camera by ourselves for the first time in a couple of weeks.
It doesn't feel so crowded in here.
But without guests, it'll just be us hosting the show old school, kicking it old school on a Wednesday night. You know how we like to do it. Tiny Brian is on the other side of the camera. Tiny Brian, say hello, please.
We're having some technical issues still, but I think we're getting there. I think we're live. So, hi, guys.
Yeah, there we are. Hey, look at us.
Please let us know in the chat
there.
if we are indeed live. Otherwise, this show might begin to feel a little pointless if none of you guys can hear us. But
I can see you. Hello, friends.
Please tag our producer, Tiny Brian, as at OVW Podcast in the chat. He'll be there collecting everything that you guys have to say for the end of the show, at which point we'll address it. This is, of course, where fans talk back.
That's right.
We do have...
Folks are rolling in now. Nice to see everybody.
We do have Super Chats as well, and Super Chats, of course, Tiny Brian will interrupt us no matter what we are saying or how we are saying it.
I love you. I love making it awkward, so get those Super Chats in here.
So we mentioned we're alone this Wednesday evening for FanZone Live, but we've actually had a lot of guests, not just our friends last week, the Wiscoticks, Chris and Matt.
That was probably the most fun I've had in a very, very long time.
Not just Eric Cornish and Linda the week before that.
He's a good guy, and she is lovely.
But we sat down with Leo Fox this past week. That came out on Monday over on our YouTube channel. It was a great interview.
Yeah, it certainly was. We ended up talking for a good hour and a half afterwards. We continued where we left off at the end of that interview. So if you wonder what we were talking about, go check it out.
Yeah, and I think that I think you guys are poised to learn a lot about Leo Fox. You never know what you're going to get with these interviews. They've all been really great. There's a lot of really great people at Ohio Valley Wrestling. But Leo Fox has lived a couple lifetimes, really.
Yeah, he most certainly has.
So be sure you go and find that interview and all of the interviews that we have on our YouTube and on our any of your preferred streaming methods, wherever you find your podcasts. But we also sat down with Cash Daniel yesterday. That interview,
UK football fame.
That interview will come out Monday. Yes, for those of you that don't know, in the state of Kentucky, where we all live and we broadcast this show from, Cash Daniel is probably the biggest sentimental Kentucky football favorite ever. And if he's not number one, he's a very, very close number two. He's been a lifelong wrestling fan, huge wrestling fan. For people that don't know, his entire time at Kentucky, everyone just said, hey, why don't you wrestle? Like, have you ever thought about wrestling? Why don't you be a wrestler? That's finally coming into fruition.
Yeah, you told me about him. I'm not from Kentucky, so I'm not as up on the information about him as you were. Mm-hmm. But as soon as he walked through the door, my God, it's like, why aren't you wrestling? Even if he wasn't who he was, it's like, seriously, dude, why aren't you wrestling?
It's all kind
Built
of
like a tank.
It's all kind of there. Like,
yes,
he's just a normal guy. We found out he works in sales, but he kind of walks around like a wrestler walks around anyway. You know, he's wearing his sunglasses indoors, just jacked as all hell.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people in the state of Kentucky who are very excited for Cash Daniel making his appearance at OVW. But I have a feeling that the people that don't have the Kentucky connection to him will soon find just as much to love about him as some of us that have been watching him in the public eye for the last decade.
Yeah. Rob specifically said he doesn't follow American football, so he has no idea who we're talking about. You will.
Yeah, whenever.
Oh, God, yeah, you sure will.
Rob, when this interview comes out on Monday, take a little bit of your time, sit down and get to know Cash a little bit. And I think that you will be very impressed on the other side of that interview. And just wait until he gets in ring and you see what he's capable of, because I think he's got some stuff cooking, some really, really special stuff cooking.
Yeah, you can tell by the way he talked when we sat down with him that, it's going to be a big night on Thursday, and seeing him at Hillbilly Days is really going to be something special.
Yeah, and for him and for that community, it's going to be something really special.
Yeah.
Our regular YouTube show will be premiering right after the conclusion of this program. What is that, about 50 minutes from now? So hop on over to our YouTube channel. That's at OVW Podcast on YouTube. We'll have a fresh new episode hot off the presses for you right at 8 p.m. over on that channel. Supersize. It's a long one, but stick with us. We had fun recording it.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the tour date, Brian Hines.
This should take a year.
Yeah, they added quite a few new dates since we were together last live on Wednesday.
Love to see it.
You can catch OVW every Thursday at Hot Point Davis Arena. Action starts around 6:30. Get there around 6:05, 6:10. OVW Appalachian Armageddon, Pikeville, Kentucky is part of the legendary Hillbilly Days. That is April 25th. OVW Shamrock Slam, St. Martha Parish, Louisville, Friday, May 16th, 2025. I'm excited about this. OVW Rumble at the Raceway Series. We're talking Ponderosa Speedway, Junction City, Kentucky, Saturday, May 17th, June 21st, and July 19th, 2025. Every month, March, April, May. OVW Saturday Night Special, Hot Point Davis Arena, June 14th. Free all-ages show at Element Eatery in Cincinnati, Ohio, June 28th. And next to last but not least, Manchester Music Hall, July 5th, and OVW Independence Rage, Hot Point Davis Arena, July 26th. You can get tickets for all of these events at OVWTix, that's TIX.com.
And since we've all made fun of Tiny Brian a lot on this program for saying it every time Pikeville came up, I feel obligated to say it. Now, it looks like I'll be saying it up until July 20th, 2025. Junction City, that's my neck of the woods. I'm actually from Boyle County.
Yeah, I heard that. You told me that earlier. That's something I didn't know about you.
Yeah, so Tiny Brian, I feel like I owe you that one.
Thank you. Yes. Cash Daniel, our interview subject on Monday, he will be making, you've never seen him in the ring, OVW Nation, but you will get his debut at Appalachian Armageddon, which is in Pikeville, and I'm from Pikeville.
That's where you're from.
Yeah, there it is.
That was a long walk for that.
And you're from Lower Brown County, Ohio.
That's right, the LBC.
All right. Now that we've got that out of the way, all of these shows that we just mentioned, you can find your tickets for at OVWTix. That's TIX.com. Lots of new tour dates, as you guys heard. As newer tour dates get added, be sure you tune in to this program, to this segment of this program. As soon as they're public, they will become public to you on the OVW Fan Zone Live. Without further ado, we've got a ton to get into over the rest of the show, so we're going to take a real quick break. Go ahead and jump in. This would be a great time to get all of your questions and comments in the chat so that we can deal with them later.
A lot of people, a lot of familiar faces in the chat room tonight.
I see that. We've
Very
got
excited.
Wendy, Ren, Mama Mammoth, our producer Victor, who is doing well. Good for him.
Good for him.
I'm glad he's
Miss
up.
Becky, Roy Bischoff, as usual. Just thank you guys so much for spending your time with us. We really do appreciate it.
And if Victor gets a little weird in the chat tonight, he's had a long day.
Yeah, it's a very long day.
Give him a break.
A long and winding day.
A long and winding, dirty road. Okay, so we'll be back right after this on the OVW Fan Zone Live.
Hi, everybody. Former WWE superstar Al Snow here at the Appalachian Wireless Arena right in Pikeville, Kentucky. We're coming back. OVW is coming on April 25th. And because we know the hardships and the struggles of the people here in Pikeville, Kentucky, we're going to donate a portion of the proceeds to the flood relief efforts here in Pikeville, Kentucky and the surrounding area. So come out, support those efforts, support OVW, have a great time because we're going to make you forget your problems.
I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude. Without you, there is no OVW. Without your passion, your energy, your unwavering support, there is no us. There's no talent, no production. Without you, there's no OVW. Thank you for being the driving force behind everything we do. The unsung heroes of our saga. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you, OVW fans. We can't do it without you.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Have you seen how cool this shirt is?
I see that.
You know, we have a whole TeePublic shop that sells these.
I did not know that, no.
We do, yes. And we have links in all of our social media about it. You can get this or you can get the unofficial.
You can get this or you can get that.
That is absolutely true.
This is Wes Rocky, and we're in the OVW Fan Zone. Please join.
Dream a reality and attend the world-famous Harvard of Pro Wrestling. The OVW Academy with Al Snow, the birthplace of legends including Batista, John Cena, Randy Orton, The Miz, and many more. Will you be the next name added to that impressive list? Visit OVWacademy.com and apply now.
Hey, it's me, Cal Hero, and I am at the OVW Fan Zone. Come on, come hang out.
What's poppin'? It's the Blue Shadow, it's Batty Round, Hollywood Haley J, and I am in the OVW Fan Zone.
Welcome back, OVW Fan Zone Live. This is, of course, where fans talk back. I'm doing the talking right now, and my name is Jackman Oaks.
And now I'm doing the talking. My name's B. Hines.
All right, Tiny Brian, do some talking.
I guess I'm doing the talking now. Let's review OVW TV 1337.
This is the night of Fatal Four Ways.
Indeed.
It seems like such a long time ago.
Seems like 1,000 years ago.
Between a great night of Fatal Four-Way action and a great pay-per-view just a couple days later, it feels like a month ago.
It does. But let's start with the media championship. We were able to give Brian his flowers and his face on a thumb because he was able to correctly deduce that Adam Revolver would pull the win out there. So we'll wait for Brian to.
Good.
There we go.
Good on you, Brian.
Yay!
Thumb on you, Brian. Then for the Rush division, neither one of you correctly predicted Star Rider as the victor. Jackman, that Icon Lee prediction is seeming weirder and weirder.
Nah, I'm gonna stick with it.
Okay, I love the confidence. In the heavyweight division, once again, both of you predicted Donovan Cecil.
That was unanimous across the room.
That was everybody in the room. I
Everybody.
didn't keep up with everybody, but I know that one was unanimous.
That was the first unanimous.
And only, I believe.
And only, yeah. And Hero picked up the win there, of course. In the tag team division, looks like you wanted Los Desafios, Jackman.
I still do.
And Brian wanted AJZ and Leo Fox. Neither one of them won this match. That went to Loud and Lawless. However, Brian, you get some credit because AJZ and Leo did wind up in the actual match at March Mayhem.
And I did say that Von Rocket and Lawless would be fun, and I stand by that prediction because I know that it is going to be a great tag team summer for those two.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun with especially those two guys right now. Really, really, really firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And then brand new gold around their waist just to top that off. I think that we're in for a nice little title reign from those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A great tour this summer for them.
Someone is manning the OVW TV YouTube account, and they have joined us.
Hey.
Hey, OVW TV.
Yep. And let's see here. What else do we have? The women's Jackman, you correctly predicted Sophia Rose would take the win there. Brian, you with me, I was probably with you wanting Larkin to pull it out too, but I'm sure we'll see many things from her going forward.
Oh, you know it. She's not going anywhere.
And I didn't hate that as a choice, but there's just something in the air with Sophia, and we saw her take that all the way to its most logical conclusion at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, we certainly did. Good for her. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Sophia.
And finally, Jackman, you get a mulligan because you predicted Amir, who was not able to compete. Brian, you predicted De Niro, who got his own little prize, but it was not a shot at the National Heavyweight Championship. That went to Eric Surge.
So let's talk about that while we're on the subject and we have a couple of minutes. Is this finally it? Is Jay De Niro finally kicking Tony Evans to the curb? Superior Tony Evans.
I don't see how that couldn't be where we are.
I
feel like this has been building for a long time, 2 years from the first time we had the Manchester show, maybe the second.
It seems like quite the definitive statement, if nothing else. There's been 1,000 times, though, where we've counted these guys as down and out, and it seems like De Niro's always come back. There's just something very different, and it's not just the clothes with De Niro, especially after Saturday coming and flicking the largest toothpick I've ever seen in my life at Tony Evans.
That's right.
So I think kind of looking forward, very much after the pay-per-view, looking forward to De Niro and Evans. Wondering what happens there, wondering if this really is finally it, and wondering if this is it, what's Jay De Niro got in store for us?
God only knows.
My other biggest question is what's next for Sophia Rose after the pay-per-view? Obviously, new women's title holder. Deserves it. Had all the momentum in the world. A sincere congratulations from us again. But where does that leave her? Where does that leave J-Rod? And anytime there's new blood in a title situation, and Loud and Lawless will find this out too, everyone's going to be gunning for you.
Something just occurred to me while we were on the subject.
Yes.
So, Sophia Rose, women's champion. Loud and Lawless, tag team champions.
That's a lot of new dude review in there.
Right. So, right now, the new dude review has more gold than the Revolution.
Or technically, I guess you're right because there's 3 belts because one of them's a tag team belt. But as far as the title, I guess they're equal, right?
In what sense?
The heavyweight and the national heavyweight, 2 titles, and then Sophia and with the women's and Loud and Lawless
like
with the
3
tag.
on 3?
So no, it's just 2 on 2 because the tag titles are technically the same title, even though they're 2 different belts.
Tomato.
Listen, Doug Basham taught me a lot about the correct wording and what to call these things, and as we know, he'll show up in here. So I'm just trying to mind my P's and Q's.
Y'all are going to give me a flashback.
I'm just trying to mind my P's and Q's. That's all. I don't want him showing up in here ever again unannounced. He's more than welcome back, but that was really scary.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons.
For a lot of different reasons. Oh, goodness. Something I wanted to...
And then third, I know that he's already been announced for a match, Crixus, but one of the biggest and most successful works ever is Crixus convincing everyone that he was not even on the continent
Well
on Saturday night.
Played.
Yeah, this guy is, come out looking like a total hoss. Total new package from him.
Yeah.
New Titan, new music.
Looked great.
Looked amazing.
Ready to fight too. Fight or drink or both.
But it seems as if he's very content with his alliance in the Revolution. He did help start the damn thing, so
well, yeah.
I guess it makes sense. But
I don't know.
I've got to give Crixus a lot of credit. Sorry to interrupt you, Toddy Bryan, but I've got to give Crixus a lot of credit because I know 4 people that were in this studio last week who were convinced that he was not on the continent, and they weren't the only people in the fan nation convinced that there's no way he was showing up Saturday night.
Yeah, we were talking about that before we went on the fan zone about he had posted that he had taken a job in London, and I mean, got me hook, line, and sinker. I thought, oh no, man, does that mean we're not going to see him anytime soon? Wrong. He got one over on all of us.
I had a premonition that he might have still been around, but I was leaning on the side that he was not here.
Well, you leaned wrong.
I did.
We all did.
When they showed up, and everybody, we were so happy to see. I haven't said it. We were so happy to have everybody here last week.
Yes.
From the fan zone, Wendy and Chris and everybody. When they told me, look, we found this thing on Facebook. Crixus, he's not coming back. He's got a job, and immediately I was like, oh, well, that sounds suspicious, and they seem very convinced. I didn't expect it to be this soon, but I did think maybe we were being snowed.
No, Crixus is just a grade A worker and and got everyone's goat. Mm-hmm. And as a wrestling fan, I love it. As a wrestling fan, that's what I'm here for. I love thinking that I know anything and being shown that I do not, because that's when wrestling gets very, very fun to watch.
That was probably the biggest surprise of the night.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
And I love that they saved it to the last.
Had to.
Yeah.
Man, he did look cool coming out there, though.
Yeah. Total badass.
Crixus. Come back, Crixus. But multiple-time guest down here. So.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I expect him. I'm surprised he's not already shown up and demanded liquor. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like to
It
think
wouldn't be the first time.
we like to think that we have a good relationship with Crixus. It's not the podcast that he likes, guys. It's
the day job.
Yeah, it's the day job. Tiny Brian.
All right. Where did we get up to here? I guess we're ready to talk about. We've gotten through all of that. Let's predict what we know about tomorrow, shall we?
Let's do it.
Oh, let's do predictions. Predictions. Oh yeah, predictions. It goes on forever. I think you did it twice. That was more than I wanted.
That was more than I wanted.
It was more than we all needed.
Yes, amen to that.
I don't know how much is needed, but I love it. Since we've been talking about Crixus, let's. Oh.
At least one more.
Malachi.
Come on.
Prediction.
All right.
I mean, I'm contractually obligated to say it when it shows up on screen.
I'm deducting points as we speak, kids.
That's him.
Malachi, if you come, I swear, if you press that damn button one more time, Malachi.
He took it away. Let's get into it, shall we? Tomorrow is OVW TV 1338. And since we've been talking about him, let's kick off with the Scottish War Machine himself, Crixus, taking on someone we've also been talking about a lot lately, one Mr. Eric Surge. Guys.
Malachi, I liked it way more whenever you just had Dustin Jackson and Omar Amir and Luscious Lawrence drop. Bring that drop back. Get rid of the predictions drop. Okay. Sorry, Tiny Brian. Crixus and Eric Surge. I think that this is one of the matches that had... Yeah, thank you. Much better. Better. Thank you, Malachi. Getting with the program finally.
Okay. All right, I'll give those points
Yeah, give
back.
his point back.
But this is a warning to you. Let that be a lesson to you.
I think after the ending of the pay-per-view this past Saturday, this is a match that everyone kind of had circled.
Yeah, naturally.
Crixus versus Eric Surge. This is an incredibly tough one because Crixus, we know Crixus, the crowd knows Crixus, and whenever he's in that ring, he's there for one thing and one thing only.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to ask, ring rust, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
He's been on the shelf for a little bit. That's a real thing. Maybe his confidence isn't all there. He looks confident as hell. I'll give him that. But, you've got to be in your own head a little bit after you're just coming fresh off of an injury. Eric Surge, on the other hand, has no reason to be in his own head. Eric Surge has had a wonderful 2025, short of not crowning himself National Heavyweight Championship as champion this past Saturday. Eric Surge has had a hell of a 2025. I don't know, man. What are you thinking?
Crixus didn't come back to play. He came back to win. I mean, Eric Surge is as solid as they come. Like you said, he hasn't had one hell of a year in 2025, but I don't see Eric Surge getting one over on the Scottish War Machine, his first match back on OVW Res.
I politely am going to have to disagree with you.
As you often do.
I think that Eric Surge right now has, quite simply put, more to prove, not just to himself, but to that entire locker room, who he is and what he's capable of. And Crixus is a hell of an opponent, and there's no shame in losing to him. But imagine the trophy you get to take home, metaphorically speaking, when you're Eric Surge and you beat Crixus on his return here.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be a big feather in your hat, really, really big, all the way down to here, that kind of big. But tomorrow, I don't think it's going to be his day. But what do I know?
I'm going to go Eric Surge.
All right. I'm not going to take a side, but I will mention that if Crixus can pull out a win here tomorrow, doesn't that make him the absolute number one contender? Doesn't he have to be number one contender to that belt? Because, no, he was heavyweight, not national heavyweight last time we saw him.
Right.
So it would be that belt. So, yeah, maybe not.
No, and the Revolution has to be extremely pleased with Mount Kadim's run so far.
Yeah.
I don't think, even though Crixus is back and Crixus was there from the start of the Revolution, if you're the Revolution, you gotta bet on the sure thing. And Mount Kadim has been the sure thing.
Well,
so I just can't see the Revolution. I can't see that they would be too eager to have two members of their own team up against each other. That's just my guess, though.
That's true, but if there's gold on the line, I don't see a lot of people, especially somebody like Crixus, being like, all right, man, it's cool. He's going to want it at some point.
I guess I just sort of assumed Crixus's Revolution Alliance was transitory, that we're not really going to see him stick with them long term, that this was a ploy to get himself in there, but I guess I was forgetting that he wasn't national heavyweight champion. So
Right. No, I think that Crixus is probably with the Revolution to stay for at least a little bit. Something really big has got to happen for him to take his knapsack and hit the dusty trail.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
What do we got, Tiny Brian?
let's move along. Let's move on to another couple, a rematch of a couple of the Tony. Well, not a rematch. Let's just get in. Luscious Lawrence.
Yeah, let's just get
versus
into
Tony Evans. I'm trying to set it up, and I'm just failing.
You go first.
Well, this is the beginning, like we were talking earlier about, Jay De Niro not being in superior Tony Evans' corner as he has been up to this point in our podcast reign so far. So we're going to have to see Tony Evans, rely on three things: me, myself, and I.
Do you think he's capable of that?
If you're used to having that insurance policy outside of the ring, if you're used to having the right hand of doom, and all of a sudden you're doomless, then
Doom free.
that might be in his head a little bit.
Well, and Luscious, too, standing across the ring from Luscious, who's coming off a big pay-per-view win. And a formidable opponent, not just in the tag team division, but a single star all of his own.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna have to go Luscious Lawrence because I think that Tony Evans is kind of a man without country right now.
So yeah, we've got Hush versus Lush.
Hush versus Lush.
That's great.
Book it.
Yep.
Brian,
And,
I'm sorry. I was looking at the chat. Who did you predict there?
I didn't predict.
Oh, then
We
do
just
that.
started talking, and
Yeah, we're just kind of dissecting.
this week, given the current circumstances with Luscious being stripped of the title, I'm sure he's got something to prove. And Tony Evans not having his usual insurance policy, I'm going with Sweet Daddy Nasty, Luscious Lawrence.
Yeah, I think
Right.
I think that that's a hard one to talk myself out of.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? I usually, when we're doing this segment, I usually try to start at which one can I talk myself out of easiest and work my way backwards from there. But Luscious right now, very, very hard to backpedal on.
Yeah.
Didn't lose a step after Omar's attack.
No.
Came out there full of energy and just ready to go with the pay-per-view. And
you got to think, too, there's probably an element of him. Him and Omar are tight. Two peas in a pod, tight. There's probably an element of Luscious Lawrence that went out there and put on a match like he did with Ashton Adonis at the pay-per-view for Omar Amir. And to remind everyone, you're used to see me run around with this guy. When he's back, we'll be back. But until then, you have to deal with me. And I'm still someone who you should be scared of, and I'm someone who can beat you on any night.
Yeah, and he'll use his behind to do it.
He did.
he sure will.
He's done it almost every time.
So speaking of Luscious Lawrence's opponent at the pay-per-view, Ashton Adonis, we will move on, and we will see him take on OVW media champion Dustin Jackson. Guys, what do you think?
Anybody can beat anybody on a random night. And when you're talking
This
about
appears to be non-title, by the way.
And when you're talking about Ashton Adonis, this is a guy who is making strides toward a championship title like the media championship. You got to think, when he's looking at Dustin Jackson standing across the ring from him, he's saying, maybe not tonight, but I can figure out a way to beat you and make that championship mine. Then you add Leela Feist on top of that. Ashton Adonis kind of where he's at, probably wanting a little bit more out of his role and having a manager on the outside who is getting better at helping him cheat.
Yeah. And she is booked to actually come. Well, she always does. He doesn't come down with her. Yeah, I got it backwards.
But Dustin Jackson, now that Sophia Rose has beat J-Rod for the women's title, Dustin Jackson is the most dominant champion in OVW right now. And I don't see him losing one on a Thursday night to an Ashton Adonis type.
Well, like you said, anybody can beat anybody on any given night. In this case, I feel like as much as Ashton Adonis has the momentum going into this, I feel like it's going to be DJ.
I think we're going to see that DJ cutter that has literally cut down every opponent, big, small, and in between, that he's run up against. And I just think he's on fire. I think you got to go Dustin Jackson.
Yeah.
So speaking of big, smaller, in between is the medium show, or former turkey costume wearing Strictly Business Brandon Beretta will take on the mammoth Donovan Cecil.
I think that this has a lot of potential. A phrase that we say all the time when we're reviewing these things is, if you only have time for one match, make sure it's this one. This has all the writing on the wall to be that match this week. And we don't know the full card yet. We only have a small section of it here. And even what we do know is there's a lot of meat on the bone there. Crixus and Eric Surge, Tony and Luscious, even Dustin and Ashton, even though I think it's a little bit more straightforward. Brandon Beretta and Donovan Cecil, though, might, just looking at the match graphic, that's got to be match of the night, right?
I was getting ready to ask, is that your call for match of the night?
I think you never know until after the show is over, but I think this has all the potential to be, for sure. Now, that doesn't make it any easier to choose one. It doesn't make them any easier to make this prediction.
That's true.
Brandon Beretta, slow start for him. Turkey suit, all of that stuff. Kind of had to trick Luscious Lawrence to get out of the turkey suit. But since then has been rather dominant.
Yeah.
But we know that he's capable of taking the easy way out when he has to.
He is definitely capable of doing that, but with that being said, he really hasn't, and he's had a lot of success in recent weeks.
He has. Donovan Cecil, though, doesn't know a shortcut. This man has never known a shortcut in anything he's ever done in his life.
Not even close.
You take that amount of determination and that amount of skill and that amount of just like commitment to the craft and to yourself, and like a commitment to being just and doing things the right way that Donovan Cecil has, not only in the wrestling ring but outside of it. I really, really, really hope it doesn't get to the point where Beretta feels like he has to take a shortcut, because I do think that Donovan, who is so focused on doing things the right way, might not see it coming. If this is a straight up wrestling match between two wrestlers, no shortcuts, I'm going to go Donovan Cecil. I love Donovan. We all do. Everyone in that crowd loves Donovan. I think a win over Brandon Beretta could be a nice little piece of meat, a nice little meal for him. And I think it's going to end up being a heck of a match. I just think if they both play the straight and narrow, no one plays the straight and narrow better than Donovan Cecil.
I don't disagree with you as far as that goes, but like I've said previously, when he was in the turkey suit, Brandon Beretta had a chip on his shoulder. He came into OVW with a chip on his shoulder. Got out of the turkey suit, that chip got even bigger. So it's not going to be it's not going to be an easy task to put Brandon Beretta away. I mean, with that being said, Donovan is looking more fierce than he ever has, and that's saying something, because every time he comes out, he shows you something different. Hi, Mama Mammoth. I see you in the chat over there. I agree with you. This is probably going to be the match of the night. of the ones that we have here on our in our notes.
Has all of the makings of it, all of the trappings of the match of the night.
It would be nice to see a good feud with those guys.
I think that, and I think the outcome of this match is going to inform what happens next between these two guys.
I feel like Brandon Beretta might be the guy who might really piss Donovan Cecil off. I can see him like just doing something completely like disrespectful or thinking that he can get away with something and really just unleash the fury of the Mammoth.
Well, and we know,
because we know it's there.
We know from the past couple of weeks that Donovan's about 10 nights hot anyway. Like, we know that he's already boiling.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, I really actually kind of love what you're saying. Is Brandon Beretta finally the guy that pushes him completely over? Because it could have been Icon Lee, but I really do think that Mammoth kind of looks at Icon Lee as just kind of a little annoying and a nuisance.
It's like when elephants in the jungle and like the birds land on them, and I mean, come on, you're not going to do anything.
Swat.
Yeah,
swat.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's. I really do think Brandon Beretta, speaking to your point, has not only the wrestling prowess and the strength to kind of get underneath someone like Donovan Cecil's skin, but as we said before, Donovan's not willing to cheat. Donovan doesn't cut corners. Brandon Beretta is. That action could be the thing that actually finally just snaps Donovan Cecil.
Yeah. Senior producer Victor predicts a tots pull-up, roll-up by Brandon to give him the win.
I think that we are in that area, to be 100% honest with you. Short of that, I'm going Donovan Cecil.
Brian, did we get you?
We're going, I mean...
We're going to make it a podcast-wide thing?
Yeah, it's Donovan, but I feel like Brandon Beretta is going to try to pull something, and we're really going to start to see the full fury of the Mammoth.
Yeah.
And whatever he's going to do, if something were to happen, Mammoth is going to stomp a mud hole in him.
Mm-hmm. He's so close as it is. He's about to comically burst through his thermometer, like on an old cartoon or something. Yeah. Like he is that close. Do we want to go ahead and take our last break here, producer Tiny Brian?
So I've been gathering some questions and comments. I've got all kinds of stuff for us to talk about. Still room for some more. So get those in during this break. Tag me at OVW Podcast in the chat, and we will get to those right after this break.
Yeah, we'll be back right after this, guys. OVW Fan Zone Live, where fans talk back.
Friday, April 25th, OVW returns to Pikeville and the Appalachian Wireless Arena for Appalachian Armageddon as part of Hillbilly Days. Tickets available now at OVWTix.com.
I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude. Without you, there is no OVW. Without your passion, your energy, your unwavering support, there is no us. There's no talent, no production. Without you, there's no OVW. Thank you for being the driving force behind everything we do. The unsung heroes of our saga. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you, OVW fans. We can't do it without you.
I honestly don't know.
Hey, my name's Mark from the OVW Fan Zone.
Dream a reality and attend the world-famous Harvard of Pro Wrestling. The OVW Academy with Al Snow, the birthplace of legends including Batista, John Cena, Randy Orton, The Miz, and many more. Will you be the next name added to that impressive list? Visit OVWacademy.com and apply now.
OVW, my name is Ruby. My name is Cameron, and I am in the OVW fan club. Oh yes, big time. OVW fan club all the way. Fan Zone.
Welcome back. Final segment, OVW Fan Zone Live. This is, of course, where fans talk back. My name is Jack Oaks.
I'm Brian Hines.
All
I
right.
think PS is missing Haley. She was in both breaks tonight.
Oh, I'm surprised it wasn't Dream Girl Ellie.
Hey,
Well, so
We're not doing predictions. Turn that off.
or
You're
the
not allowed to
the Revolution dance.
Victor did try to get that going.
No.
I don't make the rules, guys. I swear your dances, your moves are improving.
Yeah. Are we done yet? And
All right.
So go ahead and take a point away from Malachi there.
let me borrow your pen here.
So, right after the conclusion of this program, over on our YouTube channel at OVW Podcast, there will be a brand new episode covering not only a little bit of the Fatal 4-Way that we've kind of dissected here this evening in a more longer form, but also 2025's March Mayhem.
Yes.
We know you guys love hanging out with each other in the chat. Go over to our YouTube channel after this, hang out with each other a little bit more. We would certainly appreciate it. While you're over there, like and subscribe. I hate shilling for that, but it really, really, really does help.
Yeah, it really does.
Before we started making content, that was my least favorite part of YouTube videos. Now it's like my least favorite part, but because I feel sad that they have to do it because I know how important it is.
Also, like this stream if you've not yet.
Yeah, please like this stream as well.
Or this episode, or that episode.
This past week, we had an interview go up with Leo Fox that was really, really tremendous. If you haven't listened to it yet, take some time to listen to that. We go all over the place, happy, sad, everywhere in between. And Leo was an excellent conversationalist. Next Monday, Rob, this one's for you. Tune in to our coverage of our interview, with Cash Daniel. If you're from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, you know who he is. If you're not from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, you don't know who he is yet, but you're about to learn in a few really big ways, the first of which can be this interview coming out next Monday. All right, Tiny Brian.
All right, we do have some comments. Let's start with our good friend and Wisco chick, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
She asked the question we're all asking: how surprised was everyone to see Crixus back? Not to hit on Crixus again.
No, I think it's a valid question. I was, like I said, I had a little premonition that he was maybe not in Europe as was previously reported, but I didn't know anything until he walked through the curtain, because you don't know anything until it happens in the world of wrestling. So I was pretty surprised. Yes,
I was quite surprised. Glad to see it, though. Glad to see it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, we've said it. I think it bears saying again. I don't know how he could have looked any better, and then he comes out looking the way he was looking a couple days ago.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Golly.
Victor asked also, is Crixus aiming for the national title, the heavyweight? Where do you think his heart lies here? They're both revolutions, so what's he going to do? What's his goal?
You know, he might be looking at something like Dustin Jackson and the media title.
That's an interesting notion.
That was the Country Boy title, correct?
Yes.
Which he previously held before they unveiled the media title.
He did.
He was the Kentucky heavyweight.
right.
Yeah.
Back when we first started this podcast, he actually held that title.
He was holding it because I believe his interview is called King of Kentucky.
Yeah, I believe it was. That was the first interview we ever put out.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like such a long time ago, 50 interviews later.
No kidding, 53.
But yeah, I mean, I would say honestly, he's probably looking at something like Dustin Jackson. Crixus does have the advantage of watching basically all of the tape on Dustin Jackson's title run so far.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to think that he knows what Dustin Jackson's weaknesses are, and Dustin Jackson's got one really incredible move. Not to say he doesn't have a bunch of other moves. We're of course talking about the DJ cutter that he's been able to slay giants with, basically. Crixus has got to know, and anybody moving forward that's facing Dustin Jackson has got to know, as long as I can avoid that. I mean, hell, even Adam Revolver figured it out at the pay-per-view by countering with the sleeper hold. If I can avoid the cutter, I can beat this kid.
Yeah, if you can take out the cutter, you can definitely neutralize that threat, and you've got a great shot at beating Dustin Jackson. But he won a match against Doug Basham when he was virtually lifeless the whole entire time.
That's true.
So
you can never count Dustin Jackson out.
You can't.
So while we're on the subject of Crixus,
They tried twice during that one he won.
Yeah.
Mayor of the OVW Fan Nation, Keith Silva, who is in the chat
Hey,
tonight.
Keith.
Love you, Keith. What's up, buddy?
He mentions how Crixus slapped away Doug's hand and
saw
did not
that.
seem to be simpatico with Doug. What do you guys make of that?
That could just be, two dogs out in the yard, both high on adrenaline, both really feeling themselves in that moment. Maybe, sometimes whenever you got that adrenaline coursing through your veins, you don't act the same way that you would usually act. Your brain's a little cloudy. What seems like something that's non-consequential actually seems massive, right? And I think that this could just be two big dogs out in the yard, just having a big moment together. Maybe. Or.
I mean, it could be basically something to the effect of, hey, I might have a problem with you, but we're not going to deal with this now. We'll take care of this. You get the pin. We'll talk about this later.
Yeah,
He's been away for a while. Who knows what's in his head?
We've got plenty of places to talk that aren't right here in this ring in front of all these people.
Let's move along. Roy Bischoff, one of my favorite folks in the OVW fan zone.
Good to see you on Saturday.
It
Yeah,
really was.
always. And I also forever was like, there's no way this guy's real last name is Bischoff. And then I met him, and him and his wife are wonderful people, and no, that's their real last name.
Yeah, it is.
He says March Mayhem lived up to the hype. How do you guys feel about that?
Absolutely.
Exceeded.
Yeah, it was it's still available. Go get that, ovwtix.com or Triller Plus. You can see that extraordinary pay-per-view.
Speaking of, we had somebody in the chat who was inquiring as to.
I think we got it solved.
We got it?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, did I see that Junk Punch Hero helped them out?
He did,
Yes.
indeed.
And we actually were talking about you on the podcast.
Yeah, fancy
we
seeing you
recorded
here,
earlier.
Junk Punch
Yeah.
Hero, because you got brought up on our podcast. If you're curious about what we said, it was nice. It wasn't anything too bad, too
It certainly
salacious.
was.
You
It
can find
premieres
it
in 10 minutes.
You can find it in about 10 minutes over on our YouTube page at OVW Podcast.
So let's talk about Rob from Scotland.
Let's do it.
He wants to see us because he's coming over in October.
Bring it.
And
Come on.
he'll be here for a few weeks, and I am excited to have him. And Rob, we would be happy to welcome you right here on the Fan Zone
Absolutely.
to talk to the OVW Fan Nation.
Yeah, Rob, and Rob, you've been in all seriousness, one of my favorite chatters since we started doing this. You always bring something to the table. You get along with everyone. You're a pretty funny guy, but we got to stop this real whiskey stuff, okay?
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You were talking smack about Kentucky bourbon, and I mean, all I'm saying is you show up to do the show, and we'll show you a thing or two,
Yeah, no, you
Rob-
bring your folks. I'll bring my folks, okay?
and we'll see how this shakes out.
Rob did also comment that Beretta and Mammoth would make a cracking team.
Yeah.
If they could ever get on the same page, absolutely. I mean, nobody would want to stand in the other side of the ring from those guys. I just Brandon Beretta in his current form kind of strikes me as a lone wolf.
Yeah.
And honestly, in his current form, so does Donovan Cecil.
I agree on both accounts, and I really can't see a scenario where Brandon Beretta coexists as a team with anybody at this point.
Especially not someone that could manhandle him, let's be honest.
Throw him in the next week.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
I could see, a great, really, really great, powerful team would be Mammoth and Crixus.
So
How do we get to that?
I'm not saying that we would ever get to that, but that would be something to see, wouldn't it?
I would
Well,
pay money to see it.
Those are two guys that have known each other for a really long time, too. Those are two guys that were at the first combine with each other.
Oh, were they really?
Yeah,
So-
that was brought up in the chat earlier this evening as well. I think Mama Mammoth did.
So those are two guys that know each other very, very well and have known each other for a long time. And I'm sure wouldn't mind sharing the same side of the ring with each other, but I bet even more so want to get a piece of each other one-on-one.
I would just as much love to see that as I would the other. But I feel like it's way more likely that we would get a one-on-one versus in that scenario.
I think so too.
So Jake Han requests that we give our new OVW Tag Team Champions, Loud and Lawless, a little love. What did you guys think of their performance?
Fantastic. I remember saying last week on the air that I figured that the Revolution were going to be the winners of the Fatal 4-Way match. But it would be really fun if it were Loud and Lawless. And unfortunately for Omar Amir, he got injured, so he and Luscious lost the tag team titles. So we got to see both of those teams in action. And I would love to have them on the show as, an interview or on the podcast or on the Fan Zone.
Obviously, yeah, man.
We've had the interview with Flawless Jake Lawless, but we haven't had the opportunity to sit down with Von Rocket. And
he's a very busy man.
Yeah.
He's somewhere. He's doing things.
You can't stop the Rock.
He's out there right now getting one of the hottest tags that you've ever seen in your life. I love this team.
Yeah.
I love this team. I think that in the time that we've been covering this podcast, Ryan Howe over the past handful of weeks is the best that he's been. In the time covering this podcast, after Saturday night, there is no doubt in my mind that Jake Lawless knows exactly what to do to hang on long enough to get to the tag to Ryan Von Rocket, and he knows once Von Rocket's in,
he's the closer.
That he's the closer.
Yep.
Mama Mammoth corrected me that it was actually Becky Katie Merch Lady who was the one to bring up the Combine. And that Combine apparently holds a special place in her heart.
I think that when the big book about OVW is written, there will be not only a huge chapter about that Combine, but that Combine will inform a lot of stuff that happens in subsequent chapters. I think that Combine will go down as not only one of Becky Katie's favorite days, but maybe one of the best days in the history of the promotion.
Wow. Donna Cecil, Mama Mammoth.
Hi, Mama Mammoth.
Says,
love you.
Who would like to see Mammoth safely sail Icon? Let's take out a few sideline gazes. I think she means just like
use him as a weapon.
As a shock put or a discus.
He's going to toss him into the side of a trailer like Kevin Nash did Rey Mysterio.
Roy Bischoff
please don't do that to him. He won't survive.
No.
That was wait, was that Mysterio you just mentioned, like the start of the NWO run?
Yeah.
That is the moment I became interested in professional wrestling.
I know.
I was watching it at Victor's house.
I saw that the other night on A&E, and I think about that every time. So thanks a pantload, dude.
You're very welcome, sir.
Negative points for you.
What do you mean? I love that moment. That's a great moment.
I know. I'm just even more negative points.
Go ahead and take a point away from Malachi, too, while you're at it, just for good measure.
Okay.
Luke Short asked, do we think Eric will be back at the announce table or doing ring announcing this week? That's an important question.
I hope he's doing all right.
Eric did not fare well
No.
at OVW March Mayhem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess for anyone that might have missed it, there's a point where Mount Kadeem is out of the ring and he gets attacked by Cal Hero, and he goes toppling into the side desk that the timekeeper and the bell sits on. And that's often where Cornish will sit. Eric Cornish will sit in the middle of matches, and he got bowled over. I mean, complete, total strike on Eric Cornish
I
or Mount
think
Kadeem.
the chair he was sitting in was completely obliterated.
No longer
it was
usable.
Twisted into a pretzel.
No
I saw
longer
it.
usable at all. So, yeah, our thoughts with guest of this show and all-around good guy Eric Cornish. Great question. Will he be back this week? Hard to tell, man. Mount Kadeem's a big guy. If he's back, I guarantee you he's in a sling or something.
Yeah, we've tried to reach out. We don't really have any information about Eric's appearance this week, but we sure hope he's doing well. We know he's checked out at a local medical facility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good guy.
We got anything else, Tiny Brian?
Let's see. What else do we got here? Not much, so let's get into the calendar. Right after this particular program, you can catch the latest episode of the OVW Podcast over on our YouTube channel at OVW Podcast.
And that's where we are on all social media, in case you were wondering. Even on whichever one you don't use, we're on that one too.
just over 22 hours from now, tomorrow evening, starting about 6:15, 4400 Shepherdsville Road, Hot Point Davis Arena. It is OVW Rise. It's going to be all the fallout from March Mayhem. We're very excited to see it. Overdrive, of course, starts about 6:30, with the big show starting at 7. Be there early to see all the action. Monday morning, back in our feed at OVW Podcast here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's the debut of the brand new interview with UK alum and OVW alum now, Academy alum, Cash Daniel. Well, introductory class.
I do want to say, too, about that interview, very little about football in it.
No.
Very, very little about football in it. If for those of you that maybe don't like the sport, or you're like Rob and not familiar with our version of it, very little about football. Really more just an opportunity for you guys to get to know Cash Daniel ahead of his in-ring debut at Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Anything he mentioned about football directly tied to how he got to the OVW.
100%.
And his influences from the WWE Attitude Area.
We're not talking X's and O's or nothing. Okay?
No. Next Tuesday at about 7 p.m., you can watch the show that always kicks out at 2. That is OVW Overdrive with Dancing Stevie J and voice of OVW, Brian Kennison. We are excited for that. And 6 days, 23 hours from now, we will be right back here for OVW Fan Zone Live, where fans talk back. And we're excited.
From all of us here at the OVW Fan Zone Live, for Malachi P.S. Woodard, I swear, Malachi, I see you over there with a hand on your button. Do not touch anything. For Malachi P.S. Woodard, Tiny Brian.
There appears to be no dancing. That's it. Folks, thanks so much for joining us.